I was very young at the time. Now I'm 3 years older than before.
It's time for the review to start.
It's time to wear this again. I think this doesn't fit me anymore. Oh well.
Ready for liftoff, super Daniel rocket. Ready for liftoff, super Daniel rocket. He's ready to go. Review movies and shows and other stuff too. And sometimes the lack of food and our fantasy that really gets crazy between the skits as well as the short films because he's super Daniel Rocket. Get ready for it.
Hey guys and girls, it's me, Super Rocket, and today we're going to be reviewing each trilogy briefly in the Star Wars Skywalker Saga, which of course is previously known as the complete saga, which of course revolves around, well, the Skywalkers. Doesn't really focus on any other family tree.
Who are you?
I'm Ray.
Ray who?
Ray complete. So let's start off with the prequel trilogy. So the best way I can describe the prequel trilogy, in my opinion, is a lot of people say that the Raimi Spider-Man films have great stories behind them, but unfortunately it does kind of suffer a bit from the dialogue. Well, it's kind of a similar situation here, but the movie suffers a whole lot more from the dialogue. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame though, because it's a very interesting story that they're trying to tell here with the downfall of Anakin Skywalker. You get to see that you can love somebody, but you cannot possess them and try to do something to make them, still stay along as much as you can or something like that. What Anakin was trying to do in episode 3. So yeah, it's a very interesting story that they were trying to tell here, but unfortunately it kind of suffers a bit from the presentation and mostly the dialogue. So yeah. One thing I found pretty cool about the prequel trilogy, because since this is the prequel trilogy, of course this takes place in a bit more of a civilized age, so you get to see more of how the Jedi operated and how the galaxy operated normally before everything went into a full-on war between the rebellion and the Empire. But I feel like they did a little bit too much sometimes. Sometimes a lot of the stuff there that they presented is a bit unnecessary. Of course, a lot of people like to bring up the space politics, so yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is with the combined efforts of the planets we just mentioned, and of course the agreements we made with the leaders of said planets, as well as using the resources we have gained from said planets, as well as the laws and regulations we have settled upon on those said planets, we can surely make Coruscant better. I'm not saying Coruscant is bad right now, no. I mean, they're still delicious, but I'm pretty sure we can make them even more delicious. One thing I found also pretty cool about the prequels is that you get to see authentic lightsaber battles, I guess you can say, because later on in the original trilogy, you can't really see that lightsaber battles in their full potential because, of course they're handled by people that are inexperienced or severely injured to the point they cannot really do cool lightsaber skills or whatnot. So yeah, it's cool to see it in its full potential in the prequels, and it does fit pretty well since, again, it's where Jedi are at that prime, so it makes sense. Now let's go on to the original trilogy, which I found something pretty cool about. A lot of people like to use episode 4, A New Hope, as the biggest example of a movie that uses the formula, a hero's journey. A lot of other videos explain it more in depth, but I'll just cover it briefly. Basically, it's, there's a hero in this normal world, then he finds his way into the extraordinary world, then later on he suffers through like a crisis or whatnot, and then later on he gets reborn into this full-fledged hero and then stop the bad guy. You get to see this in a lot of movies, television, or books and whatnot. Some people really put an emphasis on it, and some people do it a little more subtly. And yeah, you can clearly see it in A New Hope with Skywalker. But little that anybody know, or maybe some people have, is that if you combine episode 4, 5, and 6 all together, you actually get a full-fledged more bigger hero's journey. I mean, think about it. In the first movie, episode 4, you get to see Luke Skywalker go from his normal world being, a farm boy on Tatooine to becoming a full-fledged member in the Rebel Alliance once he blew up the Death Star. And then later on in Empire Strikes Back, of course, his crisis comes along. He manages to get beaten up brutally by Darth Vader. Well, not too brutally, well, he got his hand cut off. And of course found out that Darth Vader is actually his father. And then later on in Return of the Jedi, we get to see him fully reborn as this full-fledged Jedi. And of course defeats the bad guy and goes into his new status quo of becoming this, full-fledged Jedi and, restoring peace to the galaxy. So of course a lot of people also like the original trilogy for a lot of other stuff, little bits and pieces over there, like the characters and whatnot, and the little stories that they have within the big story, and of course the planets they explore and whatnot, all the creatures and whatnot, which I also love myself. So yeah, there's a reason why these 3 movies, which of course came out first, became big classics. So yeah. And now let's go on to the sequel trilogy. So the best way I can describe my current opinions on the sequel trilogy now is basically like this. You have this large tin metal pole, but you want to extend it even further. So you add this nice little wooden pole on top of it. It fits really well and it's structured really nice, but the only problem is it isn't the same material. That easily describes the sequel trilogy for me. I like the stories that they wanted to tell, and I do like some of the characters they introduced. I like Poe Dameron. I like Finn, even though he didn't get enough screen time in these films, or enough story in these films, I guess you can say. But yeah, even though with all things I like here, it clearly doesn't fit with the rest of the movies that we have in this saga. So yeah, it's understandable why there's people out there who don't really like this, trilogy of movies. You can even say that this trilogy is out of place from the start, because if you can remember from Return of the Jedi, of course it ends off with everybody celebrating and the Ewoks playing drums with the Stormtrooper helmets, and all the Stormtroopers are probably, all dead somewhere. But then later on in the next episode, what's the first thing you see? Stormtroopers, alive and well. So that's my opinion on each trilogy in the Star Wars Skywalker Saga. I'm really looking forward to what's next for Star Wars, since this Skywalker Saga is over. Of course we're having the Mandalorian going on, and a lot of people are loving that. And of course there's going to be more series coming up in the future, like the Ahsoka series, which could be pretty cool. And of course we also got some new movies coming out, like one focusing on Rogue Squadron, those people who pilot those X-Wings, so that's going to be interesting to see on screen. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to what comes next for the future of Star Wars. So with that said, alright guys, and just thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to do this video for a while now because I didn't really explain, what my opinions are on the Star Wars Skywalker Saga, the entirety of the Star Wars Skywalker Saga. So that's why I decided to make this little video of, me briefly tackling, each trilogy. As for what's coming up next for the channel, of course I have that short film coming up soon. We haven't filmed it yet at the time of this recording, but a few days soon we're going to start recording it. And of course I have a lot more stuff going on. Of course it's a 10-year anniversary, so we're planning a lot of big stuff. Of course we already have the Daniel archives. There's a lot more stuff to go through. So until then, rock it on. Oh well. At least I can cosplay as an alien, maybe Claude or something.